Taiwan's most recent weapons purchase is drawing concern that it might put some of its citizens in harm's way. A U.S. trade delegation concludes talks in Taipei. We find out what's at stake for Taiwan. Police warn of fake banknotes circulating across Taiwan. And
it's almost the Lunar New Year holidays, and preparations for the festival is in full swing.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao. Taiwan's new mine-laying weapon system is drawing concerns from lawmakers, with some saying it could turn Taiwan into a mine island. The anti-tank system is just the latest addition to the country's growing arsenal as it seeks to beef up its defenses amid an increasingly aggressive China.
This is Taiwan's latest weapons purchase. On top of this vehicle is the Volcano anti-tank mine-laying system. It shoots out small mines which embed into the nearby ground. They're designed to destroy vehicles like tanks and landing craft. Taiwan's military recently made a deal with the U.S. to purchase a number of these systems. The acquisition comes as China steps up its military presence in the region, carrying out more amphibious landing operations. The Volcano anti-tank system is one more way that Taiwan is working to defend itself from a potential invasion.
那目的是快速的，就是 delay 或者是 block 或 turn the enemy， 就是让敌人无法入侵。那它是一个防卫性的武器。
Or at least that's the idea from the military's point of view. But not everyone is as sold on the idea. Several lawmakers from Taiwan's opposition party, the Kuomintang, or KMT, have raised concerns. They say that indiscriminately firing mines into the ground risks turning Taiwan into a, quote, mine island. KMT legislator Chen Yuchen says she's known people who have been victims of hidden ordnance.
我爸爸的这个同学啊，误踩到地雷，所以就绞断手段的哈。我们基本光清除地雷就花了20年了，我要坚决的反对啊。
Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense released a statement on Monday denouncing rumors that, quote, the whole of Taiwan will be covered with landmines. A spokesperson for the army says headlines like this will only serve the interests of Taiwan's enemies.
部分人士错误解读、扭曲采购火山布雷系统的原意，只会让敌人窃喜而伤害我民心士气。陆军深表遗憾。
Weapons experts say that these mines are different than the ones the military previously used. They're much larger than their anti-personnel counterparts and will only be used in active combat zones. They also say the mines cannot be triggered by just the weight of a person.
3个如果不小心靠近，对人员而言，它也不会有作用。只有是一个 vehicle 这种车辆，才会造成就是它引爆。所以它只是在 beach 这附近有一个小小的一个 approach， 就敌人可能会登陆的地方会使用而已。所以这个部分我可以请大家就是放心。
With Chinese military aggression on the rise, Taiwan is set to continue hardening its defenses. But many are hoping that bulking up the country's means of protection will not come with more risks to its own citizens. Kamashu and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
A United States trade delegation visiting Taiwan will conclude 4 days of talks with local officials on Tuesday. It's the latest round of discussions on the U.S. Taiwan Initiative on 21st century trade. James Chater explains what's at stake for Taiwan at the talks.
Top U.S. trade officials are in Taipei for talks aimed at boosting economic ties with Taiwan. They're the latest negotiations on a U.S. Taiwan trade initiative launched last year. 11 key areas are on the agenda, including support for small and medium-sized businesses and digital trade. But Taiwan's top trade negotiator has made clear he wants more. He hopes the talks are a precursor to a full free trade deal with Washington.
Please don't forget, 这是台湾想要的。
For Taiwan, this is all part of a broader aim, lessening the country's trade reliance on an increasingly aggressive Beijing. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has not ruled out invading the island nation. But China's also Taiwan's largest trading partner, and Beijing's not keen to give up the economic leverage that provides.
我们也要正告民进党当局，趁早打消以美谋独的算计，否则 他们跳得越高，摔得越惨。
Taiwan's trade reliance on China has long concerned politicians in Taipei, who fear Beijing could use its leverage to draw concessions from Taiwan. That's something Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen wanted to change when she entered office in 2016. But trade data suggests it's been a tough goal to meet. Since 2016, the percentage of Taiwan's exports sent to the US has increased from 11 to 15%. But over the same period, the percentage of Taiwan's exports sent to China, including Hong Kong and Macau, has held steady at around 40%. It only dipped below that figure in 2022 as zero-COVID lockdowns depressed China's economy. Imports tell a similar story. Over the past 6 years, the percentage of Taiwan's imports from the US and China has barely changed. And so when it comes to rebalancing Taiwan's trading relationships, Taipei still has much to do to tip the scales in its favor. Alex Chen and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
To find out more about the U.S. delegation in Taiwan, James Chater spoke to Nick Morrow, lead analyst for global trade at the Economist Intelligence Unit in Hong Kong.
What are the key takeaways from this U.S. trade delegation's visit to Taiwan?
I think the key takeaways from an economic angle are important in the sense that they are definitely kind of pushing the U.S. Taiwan economic relationship to deepen. But we at the EIU are actually looking at this more from the political angle. This idea that Taiwan and the U.S. have finally restarted this economic dialogue, which was put on hold for a long time. There's still a ways to go, I think, in terms of liberalizations in particularly agriculture, which I know the U.S. is going to be very keen on exploring. But the significance is just as much, if not more, political and geopolitical than it is economic.
And how close do you think Taiwan and the US are to signing a free trade agreement?
In the US right now, I think it's important to mention that there's a lot of skepticism towards free trade. That's one of the reasons why the U.S. is pursuing this Indo-Pacific economic framework, not, free trade negotiations. And I think if the U.S. were to formally include Taiwan, say, in IPEF, we'd see a lot of, hostility from China, more so than we're seeing at current. And I think that consideration of hostility is what is ultimately driving a lot of the U.S. caution here. I think the U.S. is definitely committed to expanding its trade and investment relationship with Taiwan, but it knows it has to move carefully.
Do you think Tsai's administration has done enough to diversify Taiwan's trading relationships?
Because when you talk about free trade and even like the relocation of supply chains, this ultimately comes down to corporate decisions made by individual actors who are chasing profits and returns and what makes the most sense for their own corporate strategies. On balance, China is still going to be a very competitive place and a very attractive place for Taiwanese firms to do business. And regardless of what the Tsai Ing-wen government tries to do in terms of promoting deeper and tighter economic linkages with the U.S., at the micro level, that might not necessarily be, very convincing for a lot of Taiwanese firms. And so regardless of what we see with, these U.S.-Taiwan trade talks, the overall restructuring that this is going to have for the Taiwan-China economic relationship probably isn't going to be all that significant.
That was TaiwanPlus reporter James Chater speaking with Nick Morrow from the Economist Intelligence Unit in Hong Kong. Police in Tainan have arrested a woman suspected of involvement in a human trafficking ring. She is believed to be part of a criminal gang that defrauded more than 30 people. Some of the victims were lured to Cambodia with promises of high-paying jobs. Once in Cambodia, the Taiwanese citizens were held captive and forced to help run online scams, investigators say. The group is one of several similar criminal rings that have been broken up by Taiwanese police over the past year. Police in northern Taiwan have arrested a man on suspicion of forging banknotes. More and more reports are emerging of fake money circulating in Taiwan. Officials are issuing new reminders on how to spot a fake. John Van Trieste reports.
This man was allegedly caught with over 100 forged 1,000 NT dollar bills, every one supposedly having the same serial number. If they were mistaken as legal tender, each bill would be accepted as the equivalent of around $30 US. The suspect faces charges of banknote forgery, but whether he was the actual money forger remains unclear. Police have been finding fake notes marked with the same number across the country. While they are working to find out where the fake money is coming from, the authorities are urging people to look carefully before accepting cash. It's almost the Lunar New Year, a time when people give out gifts of money, and reports of forged banknotes are on the rise. So how to spot a real note from a fake?
这个叫隐藏字迹，可以看到 我稍微轻轻的一转，我就可以看到正面下方有101003个字眼。
Here's a close-up of this one, and other watermarks on a real bill. The ink at the bottom of a genuine note is also roughly textured. When in doubt, police say to give it a feel. Finally, real bills have strips that glitter and ink that changes color from different angles.
它的光影变化是差很多的，这边是真实的，这边就是很多的光影变化。
Police say the three-part slogan, look, feel, turn, can help people root out fakes and help keep them from getting scammed. Damon Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The country's mask mandate is set to be eased after the Lunar New Year. People in Taiwan haven't had to wear a mask outside since December, but an indoor mask mandate remains in place. But that could soon be lifted with certain exceptions, including inside hospitals and on public transport. In recent days, Taiwan has reported on average around 20,000 new local infections, down slightly from early January. Taipei's new mayor, Jiang Wan-an, has visited a stadium project delayed for years over corruption and poor safety standards. As Rick Liao reports, Jiang has staked his political future on opening the Taipei Dome in under a year.
Taipei's new mayor making a field inspection. Jiang Wan-an was looking over a would-be baseball arena in the heart of the capital on Monday. But this is less of a field of dreams and more of construction nightmares. The Taipei Dome is a venue that's been mired in controversy and delayed for years.
台湾球员期盼非常多年、几十年的场地，那绝对是以本土球员、台湾的球员最优先的考量。接下来当然也会积极争取国际赛事。
In a tight race for mayor late last year, Jiang promised to use his experience as a Silicon Valley lawyer to modernize the capital and cut through red tape. He said he would be the mayor to finally open what will be Taiwan's largest indoor arena, a venue containing a shopping center, a hotel, and offices. Jiang promised the Taipei Dome would open to the public within a year of him taking office. Originally proposed in 1990, the stadium project has been a massive headache for successive City Hall administrations, delayed by corruption cases, environmental issues, and safety concerns. The latest issue was a failed fire safety inspection last summer, which postponed an opening slated for October. Those problems are still being fixed.
远雄在原始送这个案子的时候，他设定了5、6种情境，然后大巨蛋本身，他所采用的方法有没有办法把这个烟让它出去排出去？他主要是验证这个部分。
Jiang now hopes to open the complex in June this year, pending further inspections and a license from City Hall.
在后续我们一定会进行相关的测试，还有进行勘验。那这些一切都要符合法律规定，我们才会给予使用执照。
Taipei's youngest ever mayor has promised to bring fresh life to the city, but he has also staked his political weight on one of the capital's longest-standing problems. As Nai Zhou and Rick Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Fishers in central Taiwan are celebrating after a ban on fishing near an offshore wind farm zone was overturned. Fishers appealed a decision to ban fishing inside a channel separating 2 large banks of wind turbines off the coast of Zhanghua County. The appeals committee ruled that the ban was illegal. Authorities say they will draw up new guidelines for fishing boats to operate in the channel. Coming up, stores in one sleepy Taiwanese town pull in hundreds of orders for their homemade Lunar New Year treats.
Lunar New Year is a time for
lots of eating and drinking,
for spending time with your loved ones, for buying new clothes,
playing mahjong,
winning money.
This year, TaiwanPlus News presents a series of holiday specials to help you ring in the Year of the Rabbit.
Have a fantastic Year of the Rabbit.
Happy Year of the Rabbit.
From all of us at TaiwanPlus News, Happy New Year!
TaiwanPlus, Happy New Year!
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. One of downhill skiing's best-known races has been canceled because there's not enough snow. The Kandahar World Cup downhill race was due to take place in southern Germany in late January. It would have been the competition's 70th anniversary. But unseasonably high temperatures in the Bavarian Alps have forced organizers to cancel. 2022 was Europe's second warmest year on record. China has reported its second lowest annual economic growth rate in almost 50 years. The country's economy grew by only 3% in 2022. This is in comparison to a growth rate of more than 8% in 2021. The past year has seen China's economy come under pressure from pandemic controls and a slump in the real estate market. China had a target of around 5.5% growth in 2022. Its 3% growth is the second worst showing since 1976. For more on China's economy, Louise Watt spoke to Arup Raha, chief economist for Asia at Oxford Economics, who is based in Singapore.
China has reported 2022 growth of 3%, and in the final quarter, it was 2.9%. How bad are these figures?
They're not good, but they're better than expected. Essentially, consensus expectations were a little above 2%, so it's come in a bit better than what people had thought. I think the more important thing is you got to look inside the numbers. And what China faces right now is really lacking an engine of growth. If you look at the numbers, growth is essentially coming from public investment. The other drivers of growth are really not there. So you're not really seeing consumption was negative for another quarter. It's been negative for 2 quarters before that. Export growth hasn't been very strong. There was a burst early on. That's not their fault. That's the global economy. But the China model of invest and export is having a bit of a hard time. And it's really right now what you're getting from Chinese growth is essentially very much dependent on public investment. And hopefully that will have some multiplier effects into the economy, but we aren't seeing it yet.
China's pandemic restrictions have obviously weighed down heavily on its economic growth. In December, China eased these restrictions. So is that enough to kickstart the economy going again?
Well, it'll take a bit of time because if you read the latest headlines, it seems to be that COVID incidence is rising right now. That's not a surprise. That's happened almost everywhere, where after that you haven't seen growth pick up immediately, but you will. It takes a while. Hopefully you'll see the same in China. There's a fair amount of pent-up demand for various activities that didn't happen. Going out to eat, to dine out, to travel, etc. Yeah, so you're going to see that. But that doesn't last forever. After that, growth comes back to its fundamentals without the restrictions that are there. And you really need to then see what is the structural damage that the pandemic has caused. And in China's case, I suspect that it's quite significant. So we just have to wait and see how much actually incomes have been hit, how much institutions have been hit, how much it's going to cost them in terms of efficiency, etc.
That was Arup Raha, chief economist for Asia at Oxford Economics, speaking to TaiwanPlus reporter Louise Watt. Continuing with China, the country's population fell last year, the first time this has happened in more than 60 years. The country's National Statistics Office says the population dropped by around 850,000 people. The shift is expected to mark the beginning of a long decline in China's citizen numbers. Forecasts show China's population shrinking by 109 million by the year 2050. This could have profound implications for the economy of the world's most populous country. However, India's population is on course to overtake China's later this year, with both countries' numbers hovering around 1.4 billion. Back here in Taiwan, Taipei has held its first international drag festival, and our very own Philip Brossard was there to see all the death drops.
High heels and even higher hairdos. This is the Taipei International Drag Festival. Taiwan has seen its fair share of drag queens, But this is the first event of this size, bringing together 40 big-name international and local performers. Headlining the event are Vanessa Vanjie Mateo, who took the crown on the TV competition RuPaul's Drag Race, and Angeli Anang, who won the Thai version of the same show. One of the Taiwan drag queens, Yolanda Masula, says the local drag scene is only getting better.
非常的难得，因为你很少看到台湾所有的皇后可以聚集在一起，然后每一个都非常棒，然后我就觉得台湾真的是，在变装艺术这个部分上面真的是有很大的进步，对，很棒。
And the fans were not disappointed.
It's amazing!
Taiwan's drag scene is still quite young. The kings and queens have only had years to perform at for the past decade or so. But despite such a short history, they can sure draw a crowd.
This is Bouncy Babs, one of the organizers for Taipei Drag Fest. She says the event helps elevate the local LGBTQ community.
The importance of today of having a drag festival is just to showcase queer excellence and the talent within our community. It's still not an art that's recognized as a professional, and to be able to have that opportunity to bring queens like Drag Race queens over to Taiwan is just elevating what we do here, but it's also for an inspiration for all the other drag artists to step on stage and to share a stage with these legendary queens that travel the world and are being treated as celebrities.
Bouncy Babs says that Taiwanese drag performers have long battled stereotypes and the idea that it's a low form of art. But she says that performing on the big stage alongside international superstars is helping them flip that stigma on its head. Eason Chen and Philip Broussard for TaiwanPlus.
Lunar New Year is around the corner, and the bustling Dihua New Year market is once again open for business. This is one of Taipei's largest markets and is held in the oldest part of the city. Sandy Shi was there to get a taste of the festivities.
As I walk down Dihua Street, the biggest Lunar New Year market in Taipei, we can see their preparation in every corner. It's an important season for business owners and also a sign of what we can expect in the coming year. This market first opened around 3 decades ago. Visitors here can buy all sorts of snacks and ingredients for traditional New Year's dishes. And then there are the decorations. Everything from lucky handwritten phrases to red envelopes used for gifting money. This upcoming Lunar Year is the year of the rabbit. And this year's market has something special to offer visitors as they hop around for goodies.
希望大家一起来过一个讲究的年，找回过年的仪式感。今年我们是兔年，那我们今年特别呢，台北市政府规划了5只福气萌兔，然后透过这些年味装点，让大家感受到年节的氛围。
Prior to the COVID-19 outbreak, almost 1 million shoppers would visit this market every year. While there was a slight drop during the height of the pandemic, the number of visitors is bouncing back. People here are happy for a return to near normality. Although, of course, everyone is still wearing masks and taking precautions.
我们商圈在这一次的那个年货大街试吃上面，也会特别宣导，希望大家试吃不是直接用手抓，然后我们的摊商提供试吃，它是会有餐具或是小碟子。
Now town's borders are open once more. Businesses here are also welcoming the return of overseas visitors.
那现在解封之后，大家很好，人潮已经回笼很多了。像我们现在来讲，假日人潮进店的人数都有超过1200人了。
希望你们推广到我们外国人来讲说我们台湾人过年的那种气氛。我要尝过年的感觉，只有来迪化街、来年货大街逛一下。
More than 1 million visitors are expected at the market this year, breaking pre-pandemic highs. And it's not hard to see why. People here are excited to see what the Year of the Rabbit will bring. Howard Zhang, PT Zhong, and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Sticky rice cakes are an essential dish over the Lunar New Year. They're known as niangao or year cakes, and one town in southern Taiwan is rolling back the clock to make the sweet treats the traditional way. Stash Butler reports.
Steam billows from a bamboo basket filled to the brim with niangao. These sticky rice cakes are an irresistible Lunar New Year treat. And it's a good thing shoppers here in Pingdong are buying them up, because making them is a labor of love. Every year, this street in Jiuru Township becomes a literal hotspot for niangao for a single week before the new year. And in an age of mass-produced snacks, the niangao made here offers something different. Every cake is kneaded by hand, then steamed over a charcoal fire. Niangao has a special symbolism. The word itself sounds identical in Chinese to a phrase meaning rise higher year after year. And that certainly seems to be what's happening with the orders. One shop owner says she's sold more than 300. Businesses in this part of Taiwan are keeping traditional cooking methods alive, while their New Year's treats sell, well, rather like hotcakes. Patrick Chen and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally, we leave you with images of a yacht race in the Mediterranean Sea off Alicante, Spain. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.